Good evening and welcome to another edition of Open Season. We are live here from Seasons 52 in Chestnut Hill. And tonight we are talking about a whole lot. Colin Cowherd says that the Fournette signing shows commitment to Brady. Stephen A. Smith says the Baltimore Ravens can't quite win a championship the way that Lamar Jackson's playing. And Russell Westbrook's going to have to make an adjustment if they want to contend in this series against the Lakers. As we talk about the Boston Celtics and the Raptors series, and the Heat are trying to hold on, or the Heat are trying to put the knockout blow to the Bucks right now. So we'll talk about that as well as we'll talk a little bit about Odell Beckham. A tough day for him, maybe, I don't know, but I think we're going to start getting into it with Colin Cowherd saying that the Fournette signing showing a lot of commitment to Brady. And I absolutely agree with that 100%. I think that since day one, they've really done whatever it is to show Brady that they're committed. They signed a left tackle out of the gate. They brought in Shady McCoy. They gave him all these weapons. And they just continue to show to him that he's going to be able to have say in that team. He's 43 years old, but they're making the long-term commitment to him that New England never would. And Colin kind of goes on and says that, New England hadn't given him any toys in the past 10 years. He signs up with the Tampa Bay Bucks, and he gets an iPad and all kinds of things in the first day, and it's really been like that. And I think that shows a lot, as far as the commitment to Brady, and, I think it's going to make them a better football team. Guys, what say you as far as the Fournette signing and, as that goes for Brady?
I want Brady to have as many weapons as possible. I really do. The narrative works best for me if the Patriots are good and the Bucks are good. I mean, obviously, that's the best thing for sports talk radio. That's the best thing for me personally as a Patriots fan. I think it always shows commitment to your quarterback when you go out and you spend money on offensive side of the ball. They already had the wide receiver tandem. They even have a couple. They have Watson and Scotty Miller. Those are both underutilized and going to be appreciated wide receivers in that scheme. They went out. They got Gronk out of retirement off his Fox deals. I mean, they've been committed to him since day one, which is something that for 20 years, even with winning Super Bowls, we probably weren't.
Right. It's that you want it, you got it approach with Tom within reason, within the salary cap and what they're able to work with it. I mean, you're talking about a running back here that I think every team in the NFL could have utilized, whether it be as a 1-2 punch, as a solo lead guy. That was really the one gaping hole on this Buccaneers team. They had the 7th rated offensive line last year in the NFL. They have what's considered to be probably the best wide receiver tight end group maybe in NFL history. And we also have now Leonard Fournette, who caught 76 balls last year and has an absolute monster at running back to hand the ball off to. I mean, this offense is a juggernaut. It's going to set records. You heard it here. They're going to set records, and they're committed to Brady as anyone's ever been.
Are we saying that Jacoby Myers and Mohamed Sanu were not elite offensive weapons for Tom Brady?
I'm going to have to go ahead and say no.
I'm totally kidding. No, obviously they're really putting everything into Brady and this offense. This offense should be putting up over 30 points every single game. They strengthened the offensive line, and now with Fournette, they have something that Tom Brady, a power back he probably hasn't had since Corey Dillon. I mean, LeGarrette Blount was pretty good for a couple of years, but this is on another level. And someone that when you need to get a yard, Leonard Fournette can get you a yard, unlike Sony Michel. So overall, it's going to be fun to watch the Bucs this year. And at this rate, I think a lot of Patriot fans will be Bucs fans by the end of this year.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting one, as far as who they have for their running backs, because they've got Ronald Jones as well as Fournette as well as Shady McCoy. How do you guys see that playing out? Do you think that Fournette runs away with this? I personally think that they're going to start feeding Fournette more and more as we get down the line, and I think it's going to be something where Shady McCoy probably gets like 8 to 10 touches. I see them really, keeping this as a running back is by committee. But who do you see is going to be the one that's going to win out this job?
Well, let's not forget about Keyshawn Vaughn. I feel obligated to say something about him because I drafted him in fantasy before they took Leonard Fournette and signed him. But yes, this is going to be Fournette's job. The Rojo smokescreen by Bruce Arians was hysterical. Rojo's still our guy. Yeah, we'll see if he's saying that week one when Rojo's not producing at half the rate that Leonard Fournette is, and LaShawn McCoy is, 33 years old now and a shell of his
think
former
35.
self. He is an old running back, which is a newer trend in the NFL over the past few years, one that's come back a bit, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, it's Fournette's job.
I'm going to die on the Ronald Jones hill. I mean, Rashad Penny's torn both his kneecaps, and those are the two running backs I like in that draft. So I'm going to die on the Ronald Jones hill. So he's going to win this job. He's already got it, and it's his job to lose, and he's not going to lose it. And I think what helps me in my point of this is at least their offensive line is better, so he will be averaging 3 yards before contact. I mean, with the play action in tow, with their wide receivers, with Tom Brady at quarterback, it's never going to have been easier for him to do his job. He's 12 pounds lighter than he was, according to reports, but we all know everybody comes into training camp in the best shape of their career. So I'm not
Except for Albert Hainsworth.
This is a running back's dream scenario. If you're a running back, this is your dream.
Also,
stack boxes? Yeah, right.
But also, if you're a coach, as far as the committee approach goes, this is perfect. Because if nothing else, Ronald Jones is probably the best do-it-all back you have. Leonard Fournette is obviously short yardage, goal line. And then Shady McCoy at this point in his career probably is only a third down back, maybe a kick returner, a guy who can maybe run out of a RPO, which is we're not going to see a lot of with Tom Brady anyway.
But Leonard Fournette also had the most receptions of his career last year. He can catch out of the backfield. So it's not like, when Sony Michel comes in the game, the defense knows it's a run. Like, there's no chance he's going to go for a pass. He can catch out of the backfield. This is 100% going to be Fournette's job, probably by week 4. And Ronald Jones is a back that he can hit a home run, but most of the time he just runs right into the offensive line. And McCoy, I bet you he's probably cut a couple weeks out because Vaughn, like you mentioned, Alex, he's an up-and-coming back. I don't really know a ton about him, but I'd rather have him than a 35-year-old LaShawn McCoy at this point.
Ugh.
Yeah, and you got to like the Bucs even stacking up their practice squad. You look at Josh Rosen there, bringing him in, and he's got a pretty nice deal. But I'd say that there's nobody that's got a better practice squad deal than that of Josh McCown, who's a 41-year-old quarterback who's going to be sitting in Texas this year. And he's going to be the 4th-string quarterback for the Eagles, making $12,000 a week. That's a pretty sweet gig there if you're the quarantine quarterback. And you wonder about some teams like the Dolphins who have only kept 2 quarterbacks. You guys think this is a smart move by the Eagles, tabbing Josh McCown and kind of keeping him away from the team, keeping that quarantine quarterback? What are your thoughts?
I mean, Josh McCown, he's probably never going to see the field, but I mean, I guess it's good insurance. If anything, it's great retirement to start for Josh McCown, making $12,000 a week just sitting on his couch. The thing with the Dolphins, I'm a Fitzmagic guy. I think he's the perfect backup quarterback. Obviously, it's going to be Tua's job to win. But I guess to sum up the Josh Rosen thing, do you remember a couple years ago when the Pats were rumored to get him, apparently going to offer them a 1st or 2nd round draft pick, and he just got signed to be a practice squad quarterback? He's younger than Joe Burrows, which is crazy. He's been only for 3 years and has done absolutely nothing. So, yeah, it's interesting dynamic.
I always thought if we got him here, he'd have Bill and Tom to learn under. I'm not a fan of it didn't work there, so it wouldn't have worked here. When I have the best coach in all of professional sports, it matters. I don't care that you failed in Jacksonville. I don't care that you failed in Tennessee. If you came here, it might have worked. I don't know if Jimmy G will ever win in San Francisco. I know it would have worked here.
100% agree. Josh Rosen has failed in 2 places now, though.
He's never failed under Tom Brady. He's never failed under Bill Belichick.
Well, he's got a chance to learn on Tom Brady now.
There you go.
Look, Josh Rosen. I mean, this guy, when he was passed up by four other quarterbacks went ahead of him, and he said every single team that didn't draft me just made the biggest mistake they've ever made. Came out, national media said it. I mean,
Randy
he could
Moss
not
said
have
it.
been more wrong, though. He is no Randy Moss, and those teams made very intelligent decisions rather than reaching for a quarterback like the Cardinals did. I do think that Josh Rosen's, he's going to be in that Colt McCoy mold that that backup quarterback for his career, that Matt Barkley mold. He's going to be there, someone that you go to. He's going to have a nice career. He's going to get paid, but we're never going to see him as, someone's true starter.
Yeah, and with Trubisky being tabbed the starter in Chicago, you kind of got to look at that as something where, Josh Rosen, and he's been dropped a couple times, but you look at it, teams like Arizona, you look at the Dolphins, they've at least moved away quickly. Like Arizona was really quick to put that mistake. They were like, we made a mistake here. We'll take Kyler Murray. And, you kind of look at that in comparison to what's going on in Chicago. They bring in Nick Foles to be the one to compete for that job. You think that he's going to take on that job, and then you've got the ownership kind of still hanging on. This is Trubisky in year number 3, still trying to justify that number 2 pick. So, I at least give some credit to Arizona for dropping and moving on from Josh Rosen pretty early.
Arizona was in a very fortunate situation, though. They had the number 1 pick the following year, and it was the best quarterback available, a Heisman Trophy winner, whereas the Bears are just a disgrace to the NFL at this point. Obviously, that draft pick was bad, but the fact they passed on Watson and Mahomes in that draft, and this whole Nick Foles thing is just very curious. No one in that locker room wants Mitch Trubisky to be the quarterback, and at least Nick Foles has won a Super Bowl.
If I'm a Bears fan, look, I have no problem with professional teams tanking or the strategy of it. If I'm a Bears fan, you couldn't sign Newton or Winston, anybody to get us a little excited. Foles has done, and I say he's done nothing. The man's a Super Bowl MVP, so he's done something. But he's shown you he's not an NFL starter long term. That we know about him, and Trubisky's awful. So for you to have 2 guys that you don't believe in, 2 guys that your locker room doesn't believe in, doesn't make any sense to me. You could have signed anybody. If you're the Bears, you built this team to win now, which NFL teams shouldn't build teams to win now unless they have the quarterback.
It's time. Colin Kaepernick, it is time. You will be the Bears quarterback. And you will lead them back to the Super Bowl as you are the best quarterback to have ever played in the NFL.
The best thing he's getting is getting a listing in Madden.
Yeah, seriously.
But at least he's got a higher rating than Cam Newton. You got to like that. Hasn't played in 4 years, and he's rated higher than our backup quarterback.
Yeah,
our starting quarterback.
Starting quarterback now.
No, it's just crazy that Cam Newton, like, they kind of say that this is like a match made in heaven. And, it's something where it's kind of been – Cam was the guy that was last available. It was like they were going to move forward with a guy like Andy Dalton if they didn't move forward with him, or a guy like Jameis Winston. It was just – he happened to be the last guy there. So for them to now kind of go on and say that – this is a match made from heaven, and for Cam Newton to be like, oh, you just don't know what this is going to be like because no one's ever seen this. I don't see it happening for the Pats, and I don't see Cam Newton, they talk about all these RPOs that they're going to do. I just don't see it. I don't see, this offense succeeding under Cam Newton.
Well, here's why it is a match made in heaven. It's salary cap heaven is where the match was made. It's Bill Belichick heaven. He's getting a former MVP for $4 million plus incentives. I think that is the real heaven. I think that the game planning, I agree with you, Billy. I really don't see Newton having this bounce back MVP season with this unbelievable offense. I think that his head's in the clouds, and he's just expecting Bill to take him to where he's always dreamed of going, and that's going to win a Super Bowl. And I just don't see it happening, especially with the offensive talent he has around him. Our starting running back's out. We've got Sony Michel with his bum knee. It's going to be a very interesting offense, but I certainly don't think a match made in heaven is the right word.
Best analogy I heard today was this match made in heaven. It's more like if you're a guy or girl at a bar and there's like one person left at the bar to like bring home. It's like that's what it was. There was no one else available. If Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton were available, they would have been taken. They were both gone. They thought Stidham could have progressed, and he regressed substantially. And what's odd about the Cam Newton thing is I'd never heard Belichick praise Tom Brady in the way that he praised Cam Newton. It's like, does Cam Newton need this, baby, like loving, like, oh, Cam Newton's the hardest working person? Like Tom Brady was that guy, and he has been his whole career.
yes, Cam Newton does need this babying. He does need this.
Well, that's
He-
pathetic.
It's sad because they play in contrast to Brady, coming back against Jacksonville with the stitches in his thumb, and you hear Belichick saying things like, "Oh, it wasn't open heart surgery," and then he's going to sit there and just because Cam Newton's been dancing in practice and has shown quote unquote electricity, he's going to sit there and go on for 2 minutes and 17 seconds about how good Cam Newton is, and I just think they've all tried to prop him up in this whole. It's a competition that he can't lose, and I just think that they're kind of catering to Cam. They have all the way through, and it seems like this is what they're going to do: is let Cam be Cam and kind of understand that he's that guy that you can't criticize in film sessions, and kind of cater to him.
There's 2 matches made in heaven. One is the salary cap thing. You nailed that right on the head. The other thing is 2 people pissed off with a chip on their shoulder who have already been at the top of the mountain. Cam Newton has been an MVP, and Bill Belichick, I think he thinks he could win with Brian Hoyer. I think he has Cam Newton because forget Tom. And I think the reason that he's going on and on about Cam Newton has nothing to do with Cam Newton's ego. I think it's more forget Tom. Oh, you know what? I bet if Cam Newton has a personal trainer like Alex Guerrero, I bet he's allowed on the sideline. It's got nothing to do with Cam Newton. At the end of the day, Brady went to the all-time losing his franchise because F Bill, and Bill has Cam Newton because F Brady. And that is why I've said this the entire time. This is the best finger-pointing, sausage-waving contest of all-time greats that you'll ever see. This is Deion Sanders saying, I was going to ask for so much money that they couldn't sign me. This is going to be unbelievable. The best thing for me is that both these teams win 12 games. Unfortunately, I think the Patriots are probably going to top out at 10, still winning their division, and I think the Buccaneers are probably going to win 9 and finish second in their division.
But you don't think that Belichick would be as happy, if say that he got Dalton for like 1.5 million. Like, I don't think it was necessarily Cam that fell to him or this special thing that they have with Cam. I think it would have been created with any quarterback that fell there.
Agreed. And I think you would have still seen refusive praise of Andy Dalton. I think if Brian Hoyer was starting, you would see refusive praise of these players. Because, again, it's about Bill trying to kind of prove he's not a curmudgeon, or at least that he's not every bit the projection he's been for the last 20 years. It's about seeming a little bit more fun. Because at the end of the day, 2 of the all-time greats walked out of this franchise because I hate playing for Bill.
Yeah, did you hear him today in the press conference where they were asking him if he would ever do a situation like the Eagles have with their 4th quarterback, and he's like, yeah, I think we got Scott Zolak. Like, you can definitely see him being a little bit more bubbly, and the fact that he went on for like 2 minutes and 17 seconds about Cam, he hasn't done that to a guy since Jimmy Garoppolo. He doesn't talk that long about
Ed
anything.
Reed in the top 100 players.
Oh, God, I love that clip. I love that clip. Oh, God, you can
Gets
see.
so excited about it.
It's like a kid talking about his new action figure.
Ask him about
Like,
any
oh,
Navy running
God.
back ever and watch how long he goes for.
Look, I think we got to give Cam some credit. You guys have been saying he's the first one in, last one out. Look, I mean, you see obviously that he's putting some of that work in, so he's not just giving it to give it. I think maybe some of it is, as that middle finger to Brady, like, let's move on from Brady.
Oh, you've
Forget
got
about
weapons?
Brady.
I've got Cam.
Right, but Cam is absolutely doing everything right so far, for the most part, outside of his whatever language he tweets in or posts on Instagram in, which I can't really read.
Never
everything.
understand. Never understand what it says.
It is what it is, but I think we got to give Cam his due. He's putting in the work. Bill obviously trying to get the Tom talk out and get people excited for Cam.
Let's not just say that Brady went to one of the worst franchises in football historically, because they are. But
In sports.
Exactly. But if when he's a free agent, looking at the teams that were available, I don't think the market was necessarily there for Brady, and the Buccaneers have the most offensive weapons that was available. So, and the other thing with signing Cam, when we signed him, didn't we have $1 million in salary cap space?
That is correct.
So we just cut Mohamed Sanu that opened up $7 million. We have $20 million now, but we didn't have any money. And Andy Dalton went for $7.5 million, which is a joke because he's a backup quarterback. I think Andy Dalton would be better here than Cam Newton, but that's just my personal opinion. I think they're going to win 9 to 10 games. Again, their division's weak. It has always been weak. I don't buy this Bills hype that they're all of a sudden they're going to beat the Patriots. They have
No
to,
home games this year.
Exactly.
For the Bills Mafia, no home games.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't believe in Josh Allen whatsoever. I think he's a good quarterback, but when push comes to shove, Stephon Diggs is going to wish he was back with Kirk Cousins, no matter how many passes that Kirk Cousins didn't give him, because all those air balls that Josh Allen's going to give him.
Justin Jefferson's not upset.
Justin Jefferson's pretty happy with where he is. The $30 million man, Kirk Cousins, the holy man himself.
Fully guaranteed.
Well, as we talk about some of this money, it looks like the Saints and Kamara are close to a deal. You guys think the Saints should ultimately pay Kamara or put him to the test in free agency?
Let's see how much Kamara gets. Kamara is not an every down back. Let's just call it what it is. He's a good second and third down back, but he can't be a lead horse on any NFL team. He fits that system perfectly though, and that's a match made in heaven with Drew Brees and him. But once Drew Brees goes, like, what is that offense going to look like? Because you're,
Taysom Hill and
Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston fighting for snaps.
Exactly. It's not going to be the same dynamic offense. If I was the Saints, I'd sign him to like a 2-year deal. I would not be giving him a long-term contract.
Let me ask you guys this. When's the last time we've seen a running back, a top-paid running back, like a top 3, top 4 guy? Because that's what Kamara's going to command here, right? Actually walk away with the Super Bowl at the end of the season. Running backs are great.
Falk.
They sell tickets.
It's been a while.
It's
been a while.
Certainly has been a while. And I think that, yes, they sell tickets. They're great for marketing. There's a lot of positives that come with a running back, including obviously having a great one in the backfield that you can rely on. But I don't know if it's the Patriots, but like we've seen nothing but running backs. I feel like that weren't those top tier paid guys win Super Bowls.
Yeah,
And
we've seen nothing but running backs used as razor blades over here, right? It doesn't matter who it is.
Right.
If it's Deion Lewis comes in, you think they can't lose that guy just like a razor blade, and they're doing it again with the same backs. Although I got to be honest, without Damian Harris, with him being on the IR and with them saying that the Pats are going to be like a run-heavy team, but doing it with Sony Michel, who's kind of hurt, doing it with James White, who's more of a pass catcher, and Rex Burkhead. That guy can never stay healthy. So it's like I don't get how they're about to clamp down on this all running-first kind of offense when they just cut Lamar Miller. I mean, I just don't really see it as far as they don't have the personnel to do it, except they're going to run with Cam, but how far is that going to take you? And how far is that going to help, for the wide receivers to get open?
They have the personnel on the offensive line. David Andrews is back. When we saw this team beat the Rams in the Super Bowl the second time, it had nothing to do with Sony Michel. If you run the ball for 3 yards per carry before you get touched, you're going to look like a good running back. Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is not a great running back. He was running behind a great offensive line in a great situation. If they have a great situation and we open up holes for them, they'll run through them. I have no doubt about that. If we have a good offensive line, Brandon Bolden could be a Pro Bowl running back for us. LeGarrette Blount was not good somewhere else. Ben Jarvis Green Ellis wasn't good in Cincinnati.
Oh,
they were good
LeGarrette
here.
Blount could run a little in Tampa.
No, I think he misspoke. I think he meant to say Ben Jarvis, right?
No, I mean both of them. LeGarrette
Blount
Oh,
killed
Deion
us in the
Blount.
Super Bowl
Blount-
in Tampa.
LeGarrette Blount was
Blount
trash.
could run in Tampa.
He's the postseason running back god. Come on, he was running
Marshawn
over
Lynch,
everyone.
Walter Payton.
Look.
Those were-
I
Marshall
might have
Falk.
Anybody's going to run
exaggerated.
well with holes. Anybody's going to run well with holes.
I may have exaggerated.
That's
there,
my, but that's my point.
Let's give
our
Blount the credit
our
where it's
scheme,
due.
our running schemes in our lifetime, not always, but in our lifetime, has been based around Scar and that offensive line, not necessarily our running backs. You take Corey Dillon out of the equation, who have we had that was an elite running back?
Jonas Gray.
Sure, but he ran for 200 yards behind the scheme. So you
trust
say
me,
everybody looks good behind the
Jonas
scheme.
Gray
I agree
sucks.
with you, which is why it's all about the offensive line. We have that personnel. If you're going to pay 2 guards upwards of $10 million and you've already paid your center, you better be able to run the goddamn ball.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if even they're going to be able to run with the holes that they're going to be able to open up because they don't really have a real back. They have a guy made out of glass in Rex Burkhead. They have a more of a pass-catching guy in James White. And then, Damian Harris, him being hurt, and Sony Michel just needing, the guy needs absolute huge holes
He
to
needs a
be able
fullback.
to run through. Yeah.
He needs
One of the
literally
only guys
no
who needs
James
a fullback.
Devlin.
And we don't have Vitali or whatever.
Devlin.
No, we don't have either.
Yeah, Vitali.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't.
The guy that we replaced Devlin with, we no longer have.
Yeah, I don't even know who the fullback is. It'll probably be the linebacker we
It'll be
used last
Juwan
year.
Bentley.
Do we have a kicker?
Yeah, we signed them both for
Oh,
the practice
yeah.
squad.
We got
What's going on?
Rohrwasser.
Yeah, he doesn't really make kicks a lot, but
Well, Cam
we
Newton,
do have
Cam
one
Newton
in
can kick
Rohrwasser.
apparently.
Hey, he's the most accurate NFL kicker ever inside of 40 yards. So as long as we're
Yeah.
his death by 1,000
Nick
paper
Folk?
cuts up
Yeah.
the field. Yes.
Oh,
As
God.
long
are-
as we're
tho-
death by 1,000 paper cuts, he's got 36 and in all day
Well,
long.
those are like extra points now.
Sure, whatever. Give them to him.
He's
It's going to be ugly. We're going to win 10 games in some of the ugliest fashion you've ever seen in the NFL.
You think they're going to win 10 games?
A lot of 17 to 14 games here, bud.
We are underestimating the young talent. They drafted 2 third-round tight ends. The last time they spent that sort of draft capital, we got a Hall of Famer and one guy who could have been a Hall
And a
of Famer.
murderer.
But do you think
And
these
a
guys
murderer.
are
And a
going to be
murderer.
ready
And a Hall of
to
Famer
go?
and a
Do you think
murderer.
these guys are
That's
going
a
to be
lot
ready to
to-
go?
I think N'Keal Harry absolutely is his second year in. Sounds like all the praise has gone to the tight ends so far. Those two guys are pushing each other. They're working hard. They're going to be able to, lean on each other. And then obviously they've got great coaching along the way. I think that we've got some really good wide receivers in N'Keal Harry and Edelman. I think everyone's forgetting we still have Edelman. He might not have
30.
Tom Brady throwing him the ball.
He's 34.
And he's
34.
still effective.
Yeah,
Death
but they're
by
just
1,000
gonna
paper cuts.
when you double team Edelman and N'Keal Harry can't get off the line to get open.
N'Keal Harry doesn't need to get off the line. He's 6'2". Can he win a jump
6'4".
ball on curl routes?
230.
Can
Okay,
he win a
how many
jump ball on
times did
curl
he
routes?
drop? How many
Beast.
times did he drop those lob ups to him last year?
He was
They
a
tried
rookie
it a bunch. It
playing
never
catch
worked.
up. They are going to grow. He is
How
going
good will
to be
N'Keal
better.
Harry be this year?
I'm saying probably 1,000-yard receiver,
Ooh.
probably
A
1,000-yard
1,000-yard
Wow.
receiver in this offense?
1,000-yard receiver.
I mean,
8
how
touchdown,
you can count those guys
75
on one hand.
receptions.
You can count those guys on one hand in
going
this
fi-
offense. I mean,
500
Brandon
yards and
Lloyd
6
and
touchdowns.
LaFell are the only guys to be able to come into this offense seamlessly.
Think Kelvin Benjamin. I think N'Keal
What,
Harry.
eating himself out
Yeah.
of the league?
I think before he ate himself out of the league. Think N'Keal Harry and Cam
Harry
should
is more
work
He's
together.
talented.
he's a
Benjamin.
big guy, sure. So Cam, maybe in his style, where he tries to buy a little bit more time, maybe that allows him to get a little bit of a release. But it
Exactly.
seems like he really hasn't been able to find a lot of running room. And I don't know. I just wonder because it seemed like last year they had to do a lot of creative things to try to get the ball in his hands. I just don't know how well he's going to be. Are they going to spoon feed this guy? I don't know.
He'll be Dwayne Bowe in Cleveland. I know that doesn't sound
Dwayne
great.
Bowe.
I know that doesn't sound great. But for
Hey, it
your
was
New
worth
Eng-
taking in fantasy a couple
But for
years.
your New England,
Remember that
that was in
contract?
Kansas City. But for your New England Patriots, it's different. You have to understand everything is different through the prism with which you're looking through.
You also have
and
a
if you're a
different
Patriots fan,
quarterback.
it doesn't matter. We'll be fine. We're going to be fine this year.
Yeah,
the running
but
game's
if
going
you
to be
just
fine.
go ahead and just say we'll be fine. I mean, you can just chalk that up. But why are they going to be fine?
Because we have the best coach in one of the only sports in which coaching
he's
matters.
he's not suiting up. I mean, I don't know. I just don't.
Well, he didn't suit up for any of the 6 Super Bowls, but I didn't really.
He also had an elite
yeah, but he
defense
also
in all
had
those.
he also had Tom Brady that was keeping the team. And there's maybe his coaching does so much, and he takes a team that wouldn't go to the playoffs to the playoffs. But I'd say that Brady definitely was the guy who put them over the edge in terms of being able to win the Super Bowls when they got there.
I would agree with you, but week to week in an NFL season, Bill's responsible for 4 to 6 wins by himself. So if the team could win 4 games,
4
that's
to
10
6
wins. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The challenge is that their schedule this year is very difficult. I know road games don't matter this year, but they do have to play Baltimore, Kansas City. They play the NFC West, I believe, this year. Which,
Yep, and both LA teams.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, the good thing for them is that they're still in the JV division, and they all have young quarterbacks. The Bills are the only real threat, and I don't think the Bills are going to be. I think they get in 8-8. I think the Patriots get to 9-7, 10-6. It's not going to be pretty, like you said. It's a lot of weeks that Cam Newton's going to throw 2 picks and throw for 150 yards, and somehow we get a win with an interception or a block punt return for a touchdown. It's going to be that type of season.
And you guys kept mentioning death by 1,000 cuts
cuts.
or whatever. But do you really think that's something that Cam Newton can execute? I don't think
You
it's
got
an
me.
offense.
You know
that
what? You
he
got
can-
me there.
I don't think that he can execute that offense. Justin mentioned, how many balls are going to sail over, the receiver in Buffalo's head, and I wonder how many balls are going to sail over Edelman's head here. And I just wonder if that death by 1,000 paper cuts, is gonna work here, because it's something that Cam Newton really hasn't been able to do. Sure, he did a decent job passing to Christian McCaffrey and Greg Olsen, but for his career, he's a below 60% passer, where guys like Edelman are used to a guy like Brady who's been up around 70%.
Our running backs are going to have a lot of pass attempts to them. White and what's his name?
Harris.
Burkhead. Burkhead. If he can stay healthy, I think Burkhead's our best running back. But those guys can catch out of the backfield, and you have those two tight ends in there for a reason. They're just going to be blocking or running 10-yard in and outs as safety nets for Cam Newton. It's not going to be pretty. But again, we have Belichick. We'll get to 10 wins. We'll probably lose in the first round of the playoffs, but I have more faith in Cam Newton than I do Jared Stidham.
I think what makes Belichick great is he's going to get the most out of any player he's got. He's going to look at Cam's MVP tape. He's going to look at Cam's Auburn tape. He's going to look at how to utilize Cam in ways other coaches might not have even thought of yet. He is going to find ways to use Cam and create an offense around Cam and around the talent he has that is going to exploit defenses and create mismatches all across the field. I agree with it's not going to be death by 1,000 paper cuts. I think it's going to be run heavy, a lot of play action, a lot of big hitting, 20-yard chunks, 15-yard chunk plays. It's not going to be death by 1,000 cuts, but they're going to have to stack the box if we actually have a good running game, if David Andrews is plowing holes, the rest of that O-line is doing their jobs, the young tight ends. It's a lot of ifs, though. It's just a lot of ifs, more ifs than we've had as Patriots fans since Drew Bledsoe went down. So.
It's absolutely death by 1,000 paper cuts, and I'm going to keep hammering that home.
No.
It is.
No,
It
not
is.
with Cam Newton.
Wait a minute. Let me get my point off. It's 3-yard screen routes. It's RPOs where Cam runs for 3 yards. It's short hitch routes by the tight ends. It's direct halfback snaps. If I run for 3 yards, pass a screen pass for 4 yards, and then I get a direct snap for 4 more yards, that's a first down. That's how this is going to go. And the play action will absolutely be the only thing that wins us
Direct
games.
snap to who? Sony Michel?
No, James White. Because he can't run between the tackles, but you know what you can do? Scheme him open. That's what you pay McDaniels for. That's why you got him off the plane. That's why you got him out of Indianapolis, was for those plays. And that's the death by 1,000 paper cuts. You're still going to see those 40-yard passes over the top off of play action, just like you did when Brady was here. But when I say that death, I mean in cuts, I mean hitch routes, I mean drag routes, I mean quarterback runs, I mean screen passes, I mean direct snaps, I mean Cam Newton catching a couple.
But Cam Newton's never been that guy that's been able to make that quick read. He's always kind of been a guy that drops back and makes a deeper pass. You think he's going to be able to change that to in cuts and all that type of
I do.
balls out in 2 seconds?
I think he's got no change up, and that's not going to matter because we're going to do the timing for him. All the things he can't do, we're going to do around him. We're going to make sure Edelman's at 7 yards in 2 seconds when he needs to be. Cam needs to throw to that spot. You might see, especially early on, Cam throw to spots where wide receivers aren't early in the season, and that might lead to picks. But I guarantee you'll see less of that than balls thrown over people's heads.
The two MVPs, if the Patriots get to say 11-5, it's going to be Josh McDaniels and that guy Ernie Adams.
Ernie Adams, baby.
Because let's face it, if Josh McDaniels is going to put up the same crap he did last year, the amount of times you'd watch a Pats game and be like, why are we third and 8? Let's rush it for 2 yards. Just the amount of dumb plays and the amount of times we'd be down and we'd throw a desperation halfback pass. It was just awful. If Josh McDaniels has a good offensive plan and Cam Newton really believes in it and executes how we should, it should go well. But these receivers are not good. Let's call it how it is.
They did a type of study where they did a rating of the wide receiver grouping since 2014 or something like that, and this was the Pats wide receivers last year were the worst, and it was so it looked ugly with Tom Brady, who is the greatest quarterback of all time. I just don't understand how it's going to be smooth with Cam Newton, and I get that you guys are saying that it's going to be a rocky road, but I just feel like Cam Newton is not the quarterback to be able to lead this team to an 11-5. I just don't see him.
Do you think
I don't
could've
see
looked
him
better with
making
Brady?
it. I think the biggest thing is too. Everyone keeps saying if he's healthy. I think it's almost a guarantee that this guy doesn't make it through the season healthy.
In the AFC, other than the Chiefs and the Ravens, who actually scares you? The Steelers' defense, yes. Other
Steelers'
than that,
offense,
who
yes.
scares you in the AFC?
I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, the Chiefs are like the team that scares the
So,
absolute hell out of me.
Over the past 3-4 years, it wasn't that the Patriots were getting better. It's that the level of play was so subpar that it made the Patriots look better, and because they had great coaching. But the talent around the NFL, and especially with all these injuries, now Von Miller's out for the year, the Chargers, James, he's out for the year, and the injuries are going to keep coming up, especially with no training camp, essentially no preseason games. They're going to keep coming up. If the Patriots can stay healthy and battle the storm throughout the season, they can do it. They can get there. It's just they're not going to win a Super Bowl, and everyone has to have expectations this year. It is not going to be anywhere near as successful as it has been.
I think the Browns are a little scary.
Not with Baker Mayfield at quarterback.
I think that we're really all writing them off because Freddie Kitchens was.
Freddie Kitchens was awful. But those teams don't last.
Listen, yeah, but the talent they have on that team. Garrett, I mean, that guy is a monster. He was on pace for a defensive MVP.
Odell's
Right.
going to be busy.
NFL dream teams don't usually win.
Listen,
Those
it's not
11
necessarily a
Eagles don't
dream
usually
team,
win.
but their depth across that team on offense, I mean, you could argue it rivals the Bucks at least in star power for what they have outside of obviously the quarterback position.
But they're in a division that
they've
they
got
play
two
the
running
Steelers
backs.
and Ravens twice.
They've got the best running back duo in the NFL, hands down. I mean, one
would
of them
say
likes
that.
to kick girls.
I
but-
agree with you, but they have the toughest division in football.
They do.
And that's 4 losses to me.
NFC West?
Hey, if they
And
can
That's not
take
the
the
toughest
pressure,
division in football?
if
NFC
they can
West?
take the pressure, they can win.
With the Cardinals and Rams and
I mean, now that the
who else?
Steelers are back.
Seahawks?
Now that the Steelers
Cardinals.
are back.
okay, the Ravens,
they are-
Ravens and
Cardinals, you
Steelers.
don't get to
Steelers
call
have the
tough.
best defense in football. The both of them have the two best defenses in football. If Ben Roethlisberger is somewhat healthy and can operate this offense, that's a 12-win team. The Ravens upgraded their defense by getting Calais Campbell. I think the Ravens should go 14-2, 13-3.
They got rid of all-pro safety as well. I mean, they got
Yeah.
a sack specialist at the end of his career and got rid of a safety at the tail end of
Calais
his prime.
Campbell is still pretty damn good. I'd take him over any guy we have right
But
now.
not over Earl Thomas. You wouldn't take him over Earl Thomas.
No, well, Thomas was getting busy with his brother, so he.
Oh, God.
And that'll do it for our NFL coverage. That's brought to you by.
Yeah, it's brought to you by the Guru Club. So today's show is sponsored by the Guru Club. If you have an Instagram account and you like to shop, check out their website, guru.club, and find brands that will give you cash back on products you love for posting a story to your Instagram and tagging the brand. You can find micro endorsement deals for companies like Slam Goods, the basketball magazine, iSlide, Hilo Gummies, Ice Shaker, and many more. I've personally earned over $500 in cash back through them, and you can too. Guru.club, shop, share, and get paid.
Well, appreciate that, and putting it onto the Celtics conversation. The Celtics come out and absolutely lay an egg in Game 4, guys. And I honestly thought that was something that they didn't have in them. You heard guys like Jaylen Brown and you heard guys like Kemba Walker kind of talk about how their effort wasn't really, it wasn't acceptable. And, after losing Game 3 on the buzzer beater, the Celtics lose that Game 4 as well. But go ahead and they really crank up the intensity and win Game 5 and absolutely suffocating the Raptors from the jump. And with injuries to Ibaka, it's kind of looking like this series is up for the Celtics to bring it home. What do you guys think as we look ahead to Game 6?
You just have to go into it with the same mindset you had in Game 5. I mean, they came out attacking to the hoop. They came out really trying to get Jaylen Brown in the offense quickly. I mean, Tatum he had a good game, but, you look at the stat line at the end, I mean, he had a solid game, but it wasn't a Jason Tatum big game. And really getting Kemba Walker really, more involved in the offense. I think that's going to be the key, not only for this series, and it looks like, the Heat potentially could wrap this up tonight. And next series too. I mean, and let's not forget the defense. The defense was smothering the entire game. I mean, Daniel Tice looked like an actual pretty good starting center against two guys that are much bigger than him. The defense has been the key to this. Hopefully they can keep that defense up, and if we can get somewhat of a Gordon Hayward back next round, I mean, I like our chances getting to the finals.
Look, at the end of the day, we were always going to beat this team. We all called it before the season, the series. This isn't like the benefit of hindsight or anything. And I think we're better when we go to the basket. I think that we have a problem, and we had it when Isaiah Thomas was here. We sure as hell had it when Irving was here. We get into this pseudo Brad Stevens Houston Rockets like basketball where everybody's got to shoot. That even means Ojeley. That means Marcus Smart. No, sometimes the other team's on a 10-0 run, and you would benefit from getting to the free throw line. I think Kemba Walker did that twice last night. The only 2 times they made a run in the second half, I believe both of them were stopped by Kemba Walker getting to the basket, and that's something that we forget to do sometimes. As much as we love Jaylen Brown and his ceiling, his floor comes from getting to the basket. So when he decides that all he's going to do is shoot, the Celtics are not likely to win unless he's on fire.
No, I think you killed it. I mean, that's exactly the problem with the Celtics. They have guys that are athletic beasts and really they're so young. Can you believe how young this team is? They don't even realize what they're capable of. They don't even realize how they should be getting to the rim at will, drawing fouls at will. Watch some old Paul Pierce tape. He was one of the slowest players to be an all-star small forward probably of all time. But using their brains while on the drive, pump fakes, they should be able to get these defenders in the air, guys like Tatum, Brown. I mean, they absolutely should be killing the rim. I think also this series, we haven't had Gordon Hayward. Yes, we lost 2 games. I mean, one of those games we had no business losing. Absolute fluke of a loss. But at the same time, I mean, the Celtics are still down a man. I mean, they are looking like they actually could come out of the East for the first time in a long time. I think this is our year to at least make it to the finals. Both the LA teams scare me, but I think that's another conversation we have when we come out of the East.
I don't think we can look past the Heat either.
No.
And the one thing, you guys are talking about how their offense just becomes more Rocket-esque, where they're hucking up threes, and the Heat aren't going to allow you to do that. You watch them against the Bucks; they're swarming them. They have guards, defensive players that can guard multiple positions, and it's going to be challenging. And the Heat are never going to back down. Even if they're down big, they're going to come back. They have great coaching, and they fight in every single game. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that the Heat are about to beat the Bucks. They are a playoff basketball team.
I don't think we were very surprised about that, but I mean, I guess moving forward, you think that the Celtics against the Heat, you would take the Heat in that one?
No, I think it will probably go 6 or 7. I'll take the Celtics because they have better players, offensive talented players.
Not only that, but I think that defensively the matchups, they're a lot more difficult for the Heat than it is for the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics, they're going to have to guard the 3. With the Heat, they're going to have to, stick with Jimmy Butler and not let Bam Adebayo dunk all over them. But I think that those are all things that singular players are capable of on this team stopping against the Heat. Whereas, obviously against the Raptors, they have a very, very good defensive presence in Pascal Siakam. And Marc Gasol, even in his old age, he's a very good player, him and Ibaka. I think that next series, if we're not going to the rim, that's a cause for concern early on. I want us abusing that rim every single chance we get. That's what I want to see.
I think the Bucks are a harder matchup for us than the Heat, quite frankly. I believe we're going to kill the Heat. And I don't mean kill them in terms of the series won't go 6. I mean in terms of in every game, I won't have that knot in the bottom of my stomach that we're going to lose this. I think we're better than them. I think to take it, as a basketball player, I always take things to, bro, if I'm on the playground and I'm drafting teams, I'm taking like 4 or 5 Celtics before I get to the second Miami Heat player. Bam Adebayo is the second best player on the Heat, and he's a matchup nightmare for us. Don't get me wrong. I think he might have a better series than Jimmy Butler if we end up playing them, or they're going to win. If we end up getting past Toronto, which we should. But I just think we can, and Alex said it, we can defend the Heat players better than the Heat players can defend us. I'm not sure that's the case for Milwaukee. That's why I love this particular upset. I think it helps the Celtics' chances no matter. Now, at the end of the day, we're going to either one of us is going to have to go up against an LA team, and that's probably going to be where it ends for us. But I think we can get past the Heat, no problem. Not that I'm taking them lightly, but I think in every game, we're going to be right in there. We have the opportunity to blow them out any given game. I'm not sure Miami can blow us off the court in any one game.
I think Kemba is going to have to be the MVP of the series because I do think Jimmy Butler, I don't think he can shut Tatum down for an entire series, but Tatum's going to have games where he shoots maybe 3 to 15.
It's got to be a Jaylen Brown series.
Yeah,
we don't have Hayward. It's got to be.
Yeah, but no guard on the Heat. Is it going to be Dragic? Is it going to be Dunn? Like they don't have defensive guard, like point guards that can guard Kemba Walker, and you're not going to have Jimmy.
Dragic could D him up.
They're also tall. They don't have They're not particularly good defenders, but they are tall and lanky. And
no,
Kemba's undersized.
I know,
Duncan
but-
Robinson is 6'8".
I know, but Kemba Walker's the step back shot he has. I don't see any of those guys guarding him, and you're not going to stick Jimmy Butler on him because you want Jimmy Butler on Tatum or Brown. And
Guys.
Crowder, for what he is, I think Crowder's very overrated, but he's a good role player and he plays tough.
God. We're bringing up Jay Crowder's name in this. How does Jay Crowder's name even? I mean, the guy is an absolute scrub. He was like an in-betweener, like for us
Guys, he
years
has
ago.
no
How
talent in sports.
does he even
Jay
become?
Crowder is a defensive player. I mean, what guy in the Raptors can guard?
Dude, he was
Jaylen
just
Brown or Jason
hucking away
Tatum?
the other night
Siakam?
and straight up missing.
Okay, the difference between the
I'd rather have Siakam on Tatum or
You-
Brown
OG Anunoby
than Jay
is
or Jimmy Butler.
Okay.
better.
Yeah,
Jay,
OG, yeah.
Jay,
Okay.
Jay
Have
Crowder
OG.
is like 30, and like he was missing a ton of threes the other night. I do not
Okay.
want him shooting threes.
Do you know why we're killing the Raptors in this series? Because all their big guys are shooting threes. Why is Ibaka and Gasol not down low and getting points? Like, why is Gasol even shooting threes?
Because he's
Like,
too tired.
Yeah, okay,
Look at
but
him.
like Ibaka, Siakam, they should all be getting points in the paint, and they're all just hucking up threes. And unless they're hot one night, it's not working. They have the size advantage.
Siakam honestly hasn't looked anything like his all-star self. I mean, he's been completely off the
They're
entire
playing
series.
into our, like how we want them to play. They're just sitting at the 3-point line, and we have guards and perimeter defenders that can guard against that. But we don't have a down low presence on defense. I mean, Robert Williams is showing some, but again, the Raptors should be adjusting their system and playing more post offense and see how that goes.
Bam's going to kill us, guys.
I know
We're going
he
to win the
is.
series.
We're
but
gonna
I
Bam's
let
think
gonna kill
Bam
us.
is
kill us.
absolutely going to have.
We're
I mean,
gonna-
he's going for like 26 and like 12 against the Greek Freak. Like he's going to absolutely destroy us.
If you're Stevens, you go ahead and you scheme against the 3-point shooting. You scheme against that.
Yeah.
And you give it to
say, let Bam do what he has to do. You don't let him, but you just put one guy on him. You don't have to double Bam. He's going to scheme this up correctly. Bam's not going to kill you. He's not going to be the
Whenever
guy who
Harrow's
wins the
out there,
series.
have Marcus Smart follow him like a hawk everywhere he goes. You can allow Jimmy Butler to shoot. Go ahead, shoot. He's a good shooter, but he's not an elite shooter.
No, you can put Brown or
He has
he's
been
not
shooting
gonna
at an
run all
elite
over the
level
court.
this
I believe you
postseason,
need Marcus
though.
Smart. I disagree. I think you need Marcus Smart on Butler. I think.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think for
okay.
for how good Jimmy Butler has
I
been
think
this
Jaylen Brown could
postseason.
do a decent job on like switching it up. I think Tyler Harrow though is too fast.
We
for
think
Jaylen
because they're
Brown.
young and long and athletic that they're good defenders. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have not shown consistently
But
to be
they
good
are good
defensive
defenders.
players.
They're just gonna
They
need to
haven't
switch
shown
it
it
up.
every night.
They
ever.
don't-
Not
you're right,
every
they
night.
don't show it every
They're
night.
young, and don't get me wrong, because again, you don't really get consistent defense from young NBA players, particularly young NBA stars. So it's not uncommon that they're not yet at an elite defensive level, but they're not. I think you need Marcus Smart on Jimmy Butler in this series.
Who's your number 2 defender behind Smart
Probably
on the
Jaylen.
Celtics? I think Jalen, and then Jalen
Actually,
and Jason are even.
Tatum.
maybe?
Tice?
I'd say Jalen.
Jalen.
Jason Tatum has taken a huge step defensively.
Williams,
this year.
Tice? No.
Jalen still will get lost here and there,
Not
but
Williams
his
or
man
Tice.
up D is fantastic. I think that Tatum is almost always in the right position, but sometimes his man up he can get beat on, whereas Jalen is. They've kind of like got that yin and yang thing we talk about, that hot and cold. They've got different complementing facets to their game, and I can't imagine that we won't come out of the East this year. I can't see it, especially with Gordon Hayward coming back. Is that happening?
And this is the year because, everything has been knocked out. You got the Greek Freak, who's the Defensive Player of the Year and the MVP, knocked out. And this is the year for the Celtics to be able to do it because you look at things next year, you're going to have the Nets coming back. You're going to have the Warriors coming back. You're going to have, some teams that come back here and make the playoff push a little bit difficult. So when you have a team like Milwaukee that's down and dead, they've really got to be able to. There's no excuses for them not coming out of the East
It
this year.
kind of feels like last year with the Bruins. Like they had a great, like the Lightning and Capitals both got knocked out. This year, Ben Simmons was hurt in the first round. Not going to play the Bucks. The Nets are not there yet. Next year is going to be much tougher. And if they play the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, no one would have predicted that beginning of this. I'm not saying that either Laker team or LA teams is going to be a cakewalk because obviously they're favored. But this is the time that Celtics have to get to the finals.
I feel like either LA team would absolutely murder the Heat too.
Yes.
I mean, it'd be a lot more competitive
Heat
with the
can't guard those
Celtics.
Anthony
teams.
Davis will put up 50 a game against the Heat.
Anthony
No
Davis should
chance.
put up 40 points a game, period.
Yeah.
And the fact that he doesn't
Period.
is upsetting.
Well, speaking of Anthony Davis and his current playoff, he's done really well in Game 2. I mean, looked really great. I think he had like 34 intent. Surprisingly, him and Wilt Chamberlain are the only two players to average over 30 and 10 in the playoffs. Crazy enough, Anthony Davis has played 20 games in the playoffs and he's averaging 30 and 10. But looking into that series, a tough Game 1 for the Lakers, where we obviously see a guy like Harden. Maybe he has a chance to redeem himself. With a game with what we saw in Game 1 effort, but we see guys like Westbrook in Game 2 shooting 4 of 17, and he just looks completely lost. I mean, this is a guy that was one of the biggest, strongest guards that we've probably ever seen, and now he's really kind of looking like he's out of his element. And I'm wondering, guys, what you think about the adjustment that he needs to make for the Rockets to ultimately be competitive, because if he doesn't make an adjustment, I think this thing might get out of sorts pretty quickly.
He needs to call Derrick Rose. He needs to call Derrick Rose and ask him how to play like he plays in Detroit. And I have bagged on Derrick Rose on this show in Detroit, but at the end of the day, Russell Westbrook needs to learn how to be selectively quick. He needs to stop running at 100 miles an hour on every play. He said, I'll give him credit, he said it best himself. Guys, I got to look at film because I'm just running around. I believe that was his quote.
That quote was great.
But at least he's self-aware because he is just running around. And he is allowing them to goat him into just the shots they want. Slightly open 20-footers from the elbow. Just the worst shot in the NBA, a low percentage, deep two-point shot. He needs to put his head down and go to the basket. He needs to kick. He needs to play Houston like Houston. He should play a little bit more like Harden minus the 3. Go to the basket, kick out, or go to the basket and dunk on him. He's still athletic even with the hamstring injury. His problem is that he's going to turn the ball over too much playing like this because he needs some selectiveness about his speed. He needs some in-control chaos for the first time in his career.
Halfway through the season, they really made an adjustment where he was taking his three-pointers way down, and he was actually, Harden got out to the hot start, but Westbrook was really like the better of the duo kind of in the second half. And it's just interesting to see. I think Westbrook is a little bit hurt, but I think he's also just, his three-pointers are way up, his turnovers are way up. And I think what he's got to learn to do is be able to change gears a little bit. He kind of just goes 100 miles an hour at all times. If he could take that down to 80%, get to his guy, then go 100% by him, I just think that would do him a lot of good because he honestly does look like he's just running around out there.
He was hurt. He missed how many games in the first round? 4, 5? I mean, I'm not saying that as an excuse, but when you miss some time and you come back and you're playing against the Lakers.
Sounds like an excuse.
Well, you're okay. How many times in every NBA, any sport, any athlete that comes back from an injury, it takes a little bit of time to have your brain and your body working at the same time. I feel like he's just running around like a crazy person, and his body's not doing the same exact
Can
thing.
I ask a question? Is that specific to this year? Because I think Russell Westbrook in his career has a history of shooting more three-point shots in the playoffs, and I don't think he's had a good playoff run since he was up 3-1 on the Warriors with Durant on his team.
Well, it worked for him because he could just pass the ball to Durant
In-
and Harden.
In the fourth quarter, does D'Antoni have the sack to sit Russell Westbrook when it counts. So he
Well,
won't
if
pitch the game away.
your point guard is shooting, what is he, sub 50 or sub 60 from the free throw line?
Sub 50. He's
Sub
shooting
50.
43% from the free throw line.
Have Harden
Look.
become the point guard in the fourth quarter. He's done it a million times. Stick Westbrook in the corner if he's that chaotic with the ball. If he wants to like hit an open shot, I mean, bait him obviously, but have James Harden go to the hoop. He's going to get 50 foul calls, go to the free throw line. But I can't take Westbrook out of the game because who are you going to put in, Austin Rivers?
Look, Austin Rivers is a better three-point shooter than Russell Westbrook. And if
Oh,
that's
no,
going to complement...
Come on the
I would
defensive
rather-
end we're talking here too.
Look, I
come
know
on.
defensively, yes, Westbrook is possibly their best defensive player besides P.J. Tucker, right?
Covington's good too.
And yeah,
Covington
Covington
is the
very
single
good,
most
very
overrated
good,
3-and-D
but
guy in the league.
He's still very good. He's still very good. He's not PJ Tucker. What he's doing down low is revolutionary, and he's
At
getting
age
beat up
35.
At age 35, he's just a tough looking guy, man. He's not a guy you want to be in a bar.
He's what
fight
you
with.
want Ojale to become, and he never will.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what being out of the league for 5 years will do to you.
Yeah,
He was out of the league for 5 years.
he was overseas.
PJ Tucker, yeah,
was he doing? He
from
was
like
overseas.
07 to 12,
Grinding.
he wasn't good enough.
grinding.
It's not that he wasn't good enough.
Learning.
The league wasn't ready for him yet.
Yeah,
His
the
ability
NBA's
to
changed.
shoot while being undersized wasn't valued yet.
Yeah.
Don't
That
forget,
corner three.
Ursan Ilyasova was a bust for like 7 years. Now he's a commodity, all because he's a foreign European guy who can shoot the ball.
Ursan Ilyasova is not a commodity.
That's not true.
He was
He's
last
getting
season.
he's
I
getting
don't think
paid
this
more
year.
now than he ever was in his career.
That's
he's
the nature
certainly
of the
not a
NBA.
bust now.
That's the nature
Sure,
of the
Yeah,
NBA.
accounting
that's
for
just inflation.
but
Yeah,
he's not a bust
serious.
now. And for the record, just to bag on this point, I know it's not on the docket, but Andrea Bargnani would be less of a bust today. Darko Milicic would be less of a bust today. The NBA game is different.
Don't hate on
While
Darko.
Ursan Ilyasova's been brought up, probably a good time to note it's 87-78 Miami over the Bucks with 5 minutes to go. I think the kiss goodnight is coming to Milwaukee. It will be the Miami Heat versus the Celtics next round if the Celtics can pull it out tomorrow night.
I mean, Milwaukee's team is
There
built
should be
around
no doubt.
Giannis kicking out to guys for three, and without Giannis, the team is useless.
How bad did Giannis look in this series? It was like he's like the
Second
Lamar
straight year.
Jackson of the NBA and vice versa, right?
comp.
He's
Build
that
a wall.
unbelievable regular season talent. You can't stop him in the regular season, and then the postseason comes, and the next thing you know that crazy style of play, it's just not working. The defense is tightened up. I don't know what something changes, and they just cannot stop.
Preparation.
It's
They-
crazy that
they can't
Giannis
perform.
doesn't get minutes in the playoffs too. Like they only play him like 32, 33 minutes. Like
Budenholzer.
it's amazing that
Get
they don't.
Korver in there.
You got to get Korver in there. You got to get Eric Hill in there. I understand George Hill.
Eric
George
Bledsoe,
Hill.
you buy two bad players.
I understand you've got to get the cast of characters. Both Lopez is in there, but I mean, I think it was crazy because the other night, Chris Middleton, he played like 48 minutes. I think that was the most that any Buck player had played all season. And, I just wonder where Chris Middleton and where Giannis have been as far as like the minutes. It's like you got to
doing all
amp
year.
up these guys. Yeah, but you got to amp these guys up in the postseason. Sure, they were able to rest a lot during the regular season, but I also think just the other night, we saw what Chris Middleton can be when he is that guy that's going to the basket and, being that kind of like, he was almost looking like Paul Pierce the other night. And I feel like he
Right,
needs to
great
be
comp.
that guy. He needs to be that guy and be able to get those shots off. And we just don't see that a whole lot. It's like Giannis just has to do way too much on that team. And I feel like they need to play more complementary of each other. It's almost like Giannis needs to do it all or Middleton needs to do it all. They need to mesh.
Yeah, I think that they'd be better off playing through Middleton in a series like this. I mean, they know Giannis is coming. He can't just bully ball his way through the entire Heat defense. They know what's happening. Play through Middleton. Let Giannis be that complementary piece. And I think that's absolutely the way to do it. And then Giannis hits you when you're sleeping.
But
So-
you can't, like Giannis, if you're going to run the offense through Middleton, Giannis is not like a shooter that you can like run around and get an open shot.
You're right.
Like,
He's not, but he's a
useless
cutter,
without the ball.
and he's a
on offense.
rebounder. He's a great offensive rebounder. You put him
What's
down
what's
low.
funny is
the
Ri-
putback dunks he'd be able
Richard
to.
Jefferson said, I think it was this week, he said, like, is Giannis not that true Batman? Is he more Robin? Like, and everyone freaked out, but, I mean, this is 2 years in a row now where push comes to shove, the defenses adapt to his offensive skill and he can't adapt to how they're guarding him.
But this has happened for so many legendary
They
players.
they just haven't built the team around him like they need to. And to Budenholzer's defense, Giannis has been in foul trouble a lot of this particular series. So a lot of the reasons that his minutes are coming down is because he's gotten a lot of charges and offensive fouls in this series. He's been in foul
the way
trouble.
to stop him.
Sure,
Build a wall.
sure, but it's much easier. It's much easier when you're doing that because George Hill and Eric Bledsoe are the point guard. I'm not a big fan of Seth Curry. I think he has a job because his brother's a all-time player, but I think he's a better fit for that team. If you go out and you get a Seth Curry, you get whoever the Mike Miller is in today's NBA, whoever Shane Battier is, go bring that Robert Covington maybe. Go bring that guy to Milwaukee. The problem with the Bucks is that they're not built really around Giannis. They're built within Mike Budenholzer's system. Sorry. Tough to say.
What are you
Whoa.
doing over there?
Budenholzer's system is not very easy to say. It doesn't roll
They're
off
built
the tongue.
around Giannis, so just make it
That's
make
not
it
true.
simpler and just
That's
say
not
that.
true. They have a backcourt that isn't great at shooting threes. They have a second player
Probably
who's a
shouldn't have got-
standstill shooter but can't get his own shot.
Shouldn't
That's
have
not
got
a
rid of
great
Brogdon.
team around Giannis.
They got rid of Brogdon, and I said that was the worst decision
That was
they ever
that
made.
wasn't a scheme fit. He's a better fit than Hale or Bledsoe.
No, I know you should have kept him.
Yeah, that's my point. It's not built around Giannis. It's built around the system that their coach has.
Yeah.
All right, well, stop yelling at us, Frank. We have to get out of here. Well, that's going to do it for us
Budenholzer.
this week.
It's tough to say.
It's Budenholzer for the record, and
Sounds like a dog.
and we're going to be out of here on that. So for everyone here at Open Season, we'll see you next week.
Brought to you by Seasons 52.
Budenholzer system. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
Sounds like a dog you'd see at like a
It's so
trade
hard.
show.
I didn't realize it was going to be that
Here
hard
comes
until
the
it came out or
Budenholzer.
didn't come out. Budenholzer system.